generative AI is taking the world by storm, artists across the globe are asking the same question: who owns the art and where is the ownership? This is Devika Mehta for AI Literacy Bridging the Gap series, and today I'm going to have a conversation with Samar Singh Jodha and Aditya Arya. So, first I want to know about yourself. Maybe Samar can introduce you, and Aditya, you can do the same for Samar.
Yes, we can do that. Well, Aditya comes from, 30, 40, almost 50 years of photography experience. We sit in this museum, which he's been collecting this all his life. He used to have it in his basement, and slowly it came out, and now it's one of the best museums in probably in Asia.
I see that. It's amazing.
But other than this, parallelly, he was running. How was he funding all this? So he was funding this by doing commercial photography, editorial photography. He's worked in cinema, he's worked on architecture, books, publishing, exhibitions. I mean, you name it, all kind of stuff. So that's the strength to it. And I think...
no more Samar. Let me introduce you to Samar. Trained in NID, studied there, incredible photographer, has done fantastic advertising work, and his work cuts across many genres: fashion, documentary, and art. So, briefly, he excels at all the genres of photography.
Amazing. And you excel in getting out those punches. I've been hearing you for the last 30 minutes. I really know that you're very funny. But the topic today that I've chosen is quite serious. And when it's actually going to hamper the AI technology, it's both a boon and bane. It is good in many ways, but it is also hampering an artist specifically if I talk about. What does you say on that? The topic is
So, more than AI, the ownership of art is at stake. Who owns what? And then that is connected with who created what. Because as per the law, ownership rests with the creator.
yes.
Whether it is the painter or the photographer. If somebody comes and says, यार इसको थोड़ा पीला को मैं नीला कर दूं, does the ownership change? So there are so many issues today. Photography, which was created as a proof in 1840s, when they said this is a proof of something which happened today, is the biggest suspect. You can't walk into the court and say, "We Lord, I have the proof." The Lord will say, "Bahar nikalo isko," because something which was creative as a proof has become a suspect.
So you should start. What do you think, so?
Yeah, no, I mean, Aditya, you rightly said, photographers, especially now, have a much bigger challenge. There's no doubt about it. I think, I also feel that it's about, when, like, this is a very good example of it. When photography did come out in the late 1800s, if you had to take a picture, you had to, because technology was such that you had a grip which was holding you there so you didn't shake, right? So that's where we started from. That thing kept shifting, I would say the laziness kept coming further and further. And suddenly there were handheld cameras and there were SLRs, and then there was digital and on its phone. So people are getting, now AI, it's
He said it from the picture.
yeah, you just sit on a screen and you can make all that. So, it's actually, it's quite an amazing circle, I would say, or cycle, that, this talk being held here at the museum, which really represents the entire analog thinking and how this digital has this brought us to a point where it's going to test everything. Like Aditya said, it's going to test your ability, your creativity, your ethics, and a lot of issues, which are going to be questioned now.
Right. And when you say that the ownership lies with the creator, so with these Ghibli trends and other trends that are out there happening, OpenAI and other platforms are creating the social awareness about how you can create new art. Do you think AI is actually creating new art?
So, is mutation of anything original? So, let's discuss original. The mutation is original.
Well, hard code is original, right?
Yeah, if I draw a picture, if I create a painting out of it, or if I...
Which is a figment of your imagination. That is original.
But do you think with these new generative AI models that are out there, they are learning from the data sets that are being fed into it, and they are also creating certain amount of text, videos and images themselves? Do you think that ownership, the original ownership lies now with the technology, or it goes back? Because it's a mix and there's something new.
I'd be happy if everything carries a mutation, carries a little byline which says inspired by this.
But that is not happening.
No, that's not happening. So I'm not even saying that money has to be given. No, this was inspired by this work of art. Napeside.
Yeah.
That's acknowledgement is necessary.
But if they start giving that acknowledgement, then they also get into that legal structure and the payment structure.
This shall be dispelled.
Like I said, saying needs to be there. That all needs to happen. And if they get into all of that, from where
there is a paid acknowledgement, there is an unpaid acknowledgement, which needs to be figured out also.
But as OpenAI's platform head said, that anything that is online is public. It is there for the public, and we are trading our data sets on that. So how do you actually think of bringing that ownership back again into the picture? I mean, if you've created something, you're putting it out in this museum or in a place where you get into a collaboration or anything. So there, the ownership lies with you. But what if there's something that is online, which is maybe just shared, and these data sets train on these data sets, and then they use it? Then?
Yeah, so it's like, to give you a good example is that, not example, reality is that whenever there's been creations, there have always been a rip-off. There's more MF% fake ones floating around than the real ones. So I think instead of getting so worked up about where my stuff is going, put it public domain, of course it's gonna be, has been traditionally done. Even here between me and Aditya, there's so much of work which is floating with no name, no nothing on it. And it's got its own commercial reasons. They've been made into posters, they've been made into books. There's so many different things to do it. Now, am I going to lose my sleep over it as an artist? No, I won't be, because I'm not a IP lawyer. I'm not a guy who's going to be chasing it out there. But to create people, let's say, to keep my sanity in place, it's really important that how do you create and without getting so taken back by or taken over by AI, where of course you'll use AI as if probably as an artist who will use AI, but how do you maintain that purity of your creation for yourself? That's really important, yourself in the sense, and obviously you can market and the clients and all that stuff. So I really believe that where do you get that purity? That purity really comes from your personal experiences. The experience is what you bring, is how you create, which is what you did earlier. So I think if you can maintain that sanity or that little voices within yourself, I think you can keep sailing with it. Of course,
people do that.
So you create, as you would always made your art, as you've always made your picture, you always made it for yourself. How do you see that? If you're gonna start looking at it, okay, I was gonna get $10 and somebody's made $200 out of selling. I shouldn't be worried about that $200 because, I'm not a left-brain guy who's going into courts and dealing with that. As a right-brain person, my whole focus is how do I create my language, my purity, my thought, my experience. And
you sort of to your purpose and your wishes and let the AI or the world do whatever they want to do.
So what is being original or being creative? Because there is nothing called original. Everything has been done, beaten to death. Be creative is when many ideas are put together to create a new idea.
Okay.
Many ideas are put together to create a new idea, which is to be creative, and which becomes the new original.
Just one last question.
Where does the ownership of this new original lies? Because it has been colors of something, strokes of something, and ideas, manipulation of something.
So I have a very philosophical question. I've almost asked to all my guests. That you always distinguish between humans, the work they're doing, and the technology. And if the technology is generating a brain of its own and creating something new out of it. But when we say that I created something and it is original because it is because of my purpose and the things that came into my mind. But is it again original? Because I read so many books, I read so many studies.
You juggled with so many words which you read to create a new sentence.
Yes.
And you said this is
that original?
now you're really creating.
No, but I would say that it's a very good question. But it is human ability to process it. If something is written, let's say a line is written, this is a shutter. Now, that's written. That's a physical shutter, amber shutter, whatever it is. But how do you process it? That's your individual way of looking at it. Whether you bring poetry out of it, or whether you make art out of it, or whether you articulate it differently. So that's the ability we have. And I think that's a very strong signature. And that's been traditionally always there. As Aditya said, everything has been done. People have painted landscape millions of times. So it doesn't mean that it's just ended there. You still paint landscape.
But someone somewhere will connect with what you have done. Like a niche audience.
It's most important how you connect yourself. So start looking at the exterior and outside. You already dissuaded because what you're doing is you're processing with your left side that how does it fit, how does it sell, or it's going to be seen or it's going to be written about. No, not at all. It is purely your side and how honest you are to that.
To being honest, I would thank you so much for answering some of my questions, and specifically this last question. There's this always I'm stuck with this question because I feel that me saying कि AI hallucinate करता है, लोग भी झूठ बोलते हैं, AI biased है, हम भी अपने ideologies के हिसाब से biased होते हैं. So I'm just trying to understand that why we say कि नहीं, humans are much better, humans are different.
But who planned that AI is the question.
But then who planned us? Yeah. That is also the question. Were we always there? We were not. We were just hardly 1% of the whole universe, part of birth making. So again, that's very debatable.
Next 5 hours is possible.
Exactly. But it was such a nice conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.